I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host Shalom Klein has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information. The show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship is back, and I'm thrilled to kick off the program with Naresh Vissa, the founder and CEO of Krish Media and Marketing, a full-service online and digital media marketing agency. He has worked with leading publishers, media firms, and institutions such as CNN Radio, JP Morgan Chase, Everbank, the Institute for Energy Research, Houston Rockets, Houston Astros, the American Journal Golf Association, and so many more. He's launched an online radio network generating 6 figures in monthly revenue. So without further ado, thrilled to bring in Naresh. Naresh, welcome to the program.
Shalom, thanks so much for having me on. Looking forward to the discussion.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you. So you are an employee turned millennial entrepreneur and #1 best-selling author. So I always love to get to know the person behind the microphone as we kick off the program. Where are you from? And tell us, what inspired you to get into entrepreneurship? It's a fascinating story.
Yeah, well, I'm born and raised Houston, Texas, live in Tampa, Florida now, have lived all around the United States, went to school in upstate New York, worked on Wall Street, went to graduate school in North Carolina, lived in Silicon Valley briefly. So have quite a bit of experience working in the corporate world. And like I said, living around the country, getting my feet wet in different places. And that's what your 20s are really meant for, I think. I think your 20s are a great time to explore. But how did I get into business? My introduction to business came when I was in high school. My school offered, outside of economics, they offered the only business class available. And it was a class that was based on the TV show The Apprentice. So it was a 1-month course, and that was my introduction to business. I don't come from a business family. But really, I think I'm the first person in my family to start his own business. Money was not talked about. Business was not talked about. It was really mostly about education, getting good grades, and then probably getting the family goal was to get a corporate job and settle down. I come from somewhat of a conservative family. But taking that business course when I was 16 years old, it introduced me to the world, to a world of opportunity. And we started out doing things like selling lemonade on a corner street, to running the school cafeteria. And that was, again, my first experience when it came to management, budgeting, money, financial analysis. And then as a part of the course, we had to read the book, The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. And that led me, reading the book, taking the course led me to read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And look, when you're 15 years old, you're reading these books, you're taking these classes, and I only understood maybe 5 to 10% of the material I was reading, because your brain's not fully developed to the point that you understand the money and business and economics. But many years later, after I got the experience, after I went to business school, then I started thinking, oh, that makes sense now. That negotiating principle makes sense. That quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki came out with, that makes complete sense now.
And Naresh, I know you're an avid reader and podcaster, and you talk a lot about your work-life balance throughout. We'll make sure, obviously, folks can find your website. You pride yourself on that. But a couple of years ago, you published a book, and I'll provide the disclaimer. It's not like it sounds. 50 Shades of, but it's 50 Shades of Marketing. Whip your business into shape and dominate your competition. And I loved it. You wrote about several examples and chapters about how businesses can improve improve their marketing. You talk about how you gave up your corporate world and many of your belongings to live the way you refer to it as a nomadic life of minimalism while trying to grow your business. And I mean, you mastered that work-life balance, having side hustles. So what is the one thing that if our listeners leave this conversation with, that they can implement into their New Year's resolutions for 2021? What would you want them to take away?
Absolutely build up your skill set. It's not about the degree you have. It's not about where you went to school. It's not about the family that you come from. It's about what skills can you bring to the table. Skills are today's currency. So we're in a recession right now. 2021 is the entire year is going to be a recession-filled year. So how can you protect yourself? How can you weather the storm? By having those skills, improving yourself valuable, not just to your employer, but also if you want to start a business, use that skill and create a business around that skill or those skills. In my company, Christian Media and Marketing, there are many skills that we offer, and it's not just me. I have a team of employees who offer skills as well. So that's how you create a business, and that's how you sustain it over the long haul.
Absolutely. And you also wrote another book called Podcastnomics, the book of podcasting to make you millions. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the program about podcasting. But again, is this a contradiction, sort of that work-life balance that you've had, but also constantly, it sounds like you're very proud of sharing your thoughts and putting time into the microphone. Tell us how you got into that world. And again, a takeaway for entrepreneurs that might be tuning in, that regardless what line of work they might be in, why should they consider writing and sharing and talking about what they do?
Yeah, well, I'll also say I'm the author of the book From Nobody to Best-Selling Author, which is all about writing a book and publishing it and marketing it. I got into podcasting because I started out in terrestrial AM/FM radio. And my first full-time job out of graduate school was running an online podcasting division before podcasting was even a thing, before iTunes and Apple Podcasts was an app on the iOS devices. So I think it's important, if you want to promote yourself, promote your business, if you put a book out there, if you share your expertise with the world, that only improves your standing, it's going to improve your marketing and your business development. And I also host my own podcast called The Work From Home Show. That's workfromhomeshow.com. And it's all about how you can make money and run a business from home or invest from home. It's everything work from home related.
Well, I really hope that that folks will get on all of the podcasts and all of the things that you're hosting, because you provide so much information. But Naresh, in our few minutes remaining, what is the one mistake that you may have made during your time in business, entrepreneurship, that you've learned from, and what's the thing that you enjoy the most?
Yeah, well, I would say there are two mistakes that I made. Number one was not getting started earlier. So even though I was in my mid-20s when I got started, I wish I got started when I was even younger, because you go through a lot of trials and tribulations, and you're better off going through those downs when you're younger, when you don't have the family, the mortgage, the house, the children. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is taking the accounting side and the legal side more seriously. So taking contracts seriously, having contracts that clients can sign, and just hiring a bookkeeper or an accountant to manage my books. That way you don't have to do it yourself. I actually ended up just doing a terrible job doing all that myself, and ended up paying penalties and fines. Get an accountant, get a professional to do it for you, and your life and your business will run much smoother.
Well, that's great advice, and certainly that's timely advice, because end of the year is a good time to start getting your financial house in order. Don't show up to your accountant with a shoebox of information and say, clean this up for me. Be proactive. Your accountant can be your best friend in helping you in forecasting and budgeting and so on. So Naresh, Vissa, thank you so much for joining us on the air, and I hope that you will come back soon, because I have a hunch that there's quite a bit more entrepreneurship and writing and all sorts of good stuff in your future. So you've shared a lot. You've got a lot of great information out there. How can people find you and get in touch?
NareshVissa.com, my first name and last name, NareshVissa.com, or just go on Amazon, type in my name, Naresh Vissa. You can find all my books there. And I'll even offer your listeners, if they want a free copy of any of the books, reach out to me through NareshVissa.com, and I'll be glad to send a free copy.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate your time, from nobody to best-selling author. I don't think you were ever a nobody, but you share a lot of great information. Make sure get on that website, nareshvissa.com, and get in touch with this amazing entrepreneur. We'll be back and Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. After this quick break, make sure you click subscribe, where you can also rate and review all of the podcasts, including my podcast, where I talk to veteran entrepreneurs as well, folks that have put the uniform on. That podcast is called We All Serve. So again, click subscribe, rate, and review. It makes it easier for people to find it. Visit them all at shalomklein.com. Chicago, don't touch that dial. We'll be back and Get Down to Business in just a moment.